and welcome to you. Welcome to the session organized by the Young Leaders Forum of ICC. Today, we are extremely happy and honored to have Mr. Sambit Patra, who is absolutely a known face. We are extremely happy and honored to have you with us. Before we start, I'll request President ICC to kindly present the Uttariyo to our chief guest. Development and growth is a concern for all of us. I think most of us, businesses, common man, political parties, everybody talks about development and growth, employment, prosperity for everybody. So we thought of hosting this forum to look at the challenges, because sometimes we hear phrases like pro-poor, anti-poor, pro-industry. So, and also I think we have seen issues of land acquisition, issues of larger interests, infrastructure projects. So it's a very interesting forum, and I think who other than Dr. Sambit Patra. So to begin with, I'll invite our President, Mr. Rupen Roy, for his opening address. Thank you.
Good morning. Dr. Sambit Patra, my Senior Vice President Shiv Siddhant Kaul, my colleague Rajiv Singh, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. I take this opportunity to warmly welcome Dr. Sambit Patra to Kolkata. Dr. Patra is a national spokesperson of Bharatiya Janata Party. He's a surgeon by profession and holds a Master's of Surgery in General Surgery. Dr. Patra represents the state of Odisha in the Central Committee of BJP and has served as the spokesperson of BJP from 2010. The Indian Chamber of Commerce is, as you know, agnostic to politics, but we are not oblivious of the fact that the political dynamic is a very important part of economic development. Sometimes the economic symphony is jarred by political cacophony. So therefore, there is an important need to have convergence of thinking. I am reminded of two initiatives. One is known as London First, where cutting across political lines, the country's development, the country's progress is not allowed to be marred by differences. There will be political differences, there will be debates, there will be disagreements. That is healthy for a democracy. But politics should not, as all our leaders say, politics should not come in the way of economic development, because we are all working for the development and growth of our country. To stimulate the discussion, I would raise 2 or 3 issues. One issue, of course, is where, like the London First pledge, where people come together across party lines, and in the US they say on both sides of the aisle, bipartisanship, because they are a two-party democracy, to work together on certain limited issues where there should be no differences of opinion. So, 2 or 3 things I will raise just to stimulate the discussion. One is, as you know, we all talk about demographic dividend. But just because we are a young country, demographic dividend is not God-given or a birthright. We have to work for it. Because if you have so many young people who are coming out of educational institutions, some of them not even educated, if they do not have work, there's a famous book called Time Pass, written and researched in Haryana and Punjab, where people are not able to get gainful employment, and therefore that is the root cause of many of our law and order problems. How are we going to cut across party lines? How are we going to create a consensus among political parties to put aside everything else and have a huge program of skill building, entrepreneurship, creation of jobs, so that really the youth can become a demographic dividend? The second thing is land. We know in Bengal in particular, which is very densely populated, Odisha also is densely populated. We have alluvial land and fertile land, which is good for agriculture. But unless we are able to get millions of people out of underemployed agriculture into industry and manufacturing, we will not bring prosperity to the country. So there has to be a consensus and convergence of thinking among political parties so that we can free up land for industry and manufacturing such that our people can be gainfully employed and our GDP can grow at a rapid pace. And lastly, I think the issue of how do we balance growth with equity. Because we cannot grow or develop or prosper as a country or as a nation if we leave behind millions of people in abject poverty, without access to education, without access to healthcare, without an opportunity to grow up in the ladder. So there are some issues where we have to put politics aside and work for the country. And I think the reason why Indian Chamber of Commerce has called people who are thought leaders, who can make a difference, who can shape policies, who can be part of the debate. We have called people from CPIM, we have called people from TMC, we have called people from BJP. The reason is that to stimulate the debate and converge it, like the London First and also like the Pittsburgh Pledge, where people come together cutting across party lines for a few issues that are critical to the nation. Thank you very much, and may I request Dr. Patra to share with us his views. The topic actually that we have selected for him with his consent is development challenges in a democracy, balancing politics and economics. Thank you very much.
Namaskar to all of you, and it's really a pleasure to be over here in Calcutta amongst the intelligentsia of Calcutta. I thank the ICC for having invited me for this occasion. Mr. Rupen Roy, Mr. Shiv Siddhant Kaul, please accept my greetings. You have called me for a very important topic because the 2014 elections saw a paradigm shift as far as electioneering and as far as politics of India was concerned. And this paradigm shift took place with a singular word, that is development. Since I was on the television channel debating day in and day out, I believe umpteen number of times I have used this word development. Before this election, if at all we would be debating, we would have been using the word secular or communal more frequently than the word development, but I think, and you would concur with my thought, that in 2014 election and thereafter, the word development has acquired a new meaning, and we are talking about it. We are thinking about it. We are thinking as to how we have to bring in this so-called development to this country, what has to change. And under this scenario, I deliver the lecture that has been ascribed to me, Developmental Challenges in a Democracy, Balancing Politics and Economics. I had no time to prepare for this debate, since you know that it's very hectic tenure. Till 11 o'clock, you're shouting on television channels. You know with whom, of course. Shouting, and then you have a sore throat and have a cup of coffee. You are trembling, literally trembling by night. Oh my God, aaj bhi ladke aaye hain. and then in the morning you have to deliver a lecture. While I was in the flight, I thought that was the right time and I should be pondering over the topic, and as soon as I saw the topic, developmental challenges in a democracy, something happened to my thought. Look at the irony of the topic. The words of the topic themselves speak volumes. Look at the arrangement of the word. Developmental challenges in a democracy. Almost all of you would agree that democracy is the best form of government. There would not be a single person in this country who would think otherwise. Development is the best form of governance because it gives you the largest scope possible for governance. And that's the reason as to why it is the best platform to deliver development. A platform which has governance, a platform which is the best platitude of governance naturally will give you the best form of development. But over here, we are seeing that even democracy is marred with challenges as far as development is concerned. That means something is wrong. Even in democracy, we have to face challenges in order to usher in development. Only means that there is something wrong. Then I went into the next statement, the next sentence, balancing politics and economics. And there I could decipher what is wrong. Balancing politics and economics. Now, what is politics and what is economy? They are related statements. In fact, why do we have politics? We have politics in order to flag up economy. We have politics in order to see to it that the economy strives a chord for the people. There is politics because we want the economy to grow. Why else would there be politics? Politics is not to have people fighting with each other. Politics is not about beacon cards and about Lutyens Jones houses. It is definitely at the end of the day, if a singular statement was to be made, politics is about enhancing economy. If it is about enhancing economy, if politics is about providing sustainable livelihood to people, social security to people, to see to it that people have enough money in their pockets, that if they have any kind of health problem, they are not left to die. They are not left to suffer. They have enough economic support with them to live a productive life. Is this not what is politics? I believe everyone would agree to the fact that this is what is politics. Yet, the sentence says the balancing act between politics and economy as if there were two different entities, and these entities have to balance amongst each other. Then who is the culprit? Where lies the mistake? Development is no culprit. Development is no culprit. Democracy definitely is not the culprit. Economy is no culprit. Economy is the end result. As much as we have it, better it is. Of all the words, the culprit lies in a singular word, that is politics. Politics is the culprit. And why so? Again, the D word, democracy, development, and over here we have the divisive nature of politics. We are a diverse country, different kind of people. You travel and you see that what kind of diversity this country has. And since, as a young politician, I travel across the country, today I'm here in Calcutta, tomorrow I would be in Chennai, day after in Northeast, and the food habits I see, impeccably different. Each state having fantastic food habits, fantastic roving habits. Everything is so different in this diverse condition. What the politicians have successfully done is divide the country on various lines. Caste, creed, religion, class, financial stability, educational status. On all these issues, the diverse country called India, and I believe the world, in fact, as far as politics is concerned, stands divided. And whenever there is a division, whenever there are groups, then this word balancing acquires meaning. Because you have to balance between men and women. You have to balance between the rich and the poor. You have to balance between this caste and that caste. You have to balance between Hindus and Muslims. So this balancing act comes into play only when you have a divided society, a warring society, and thanks to politics that politics has probably created over the years for its own benefit, warring groups. It's not that people want to war amongst themselves. People only and only want economic stability, nothing else. People want to live productive life, a happy life, and they want economic stability because that is what is going to give them a productive life. This is what is the common man's requirement and common man's wish. He does not need anything. Is the culprit. It's the vote bank, because we have to balance everywhere. Development is of neutral gender. Development doesn't have a gender, it is neutral. Just as the sun is neutral, sunlight is neutral, the sun comes up, the sunlight is divided equally amongst all those who live in this earth. It does not go into get into distinctions. It does not distinguish between the rich and the poor. Similarly, development should not distinguish. It has to be neutral. Yet we distinguish. Yet, as Mr. Roy was pointing out before, we have words called as pro-rich and pro-corporate. Fads. The recent most fads are pro-rich, pro-poor, anti-poor government, pro-corporate government, Ambani, Adani agents. Such kind of words are of common usage in Indian politics today. Why? And to this I would love to borrow a single sentence that the finance minister of country, Mr. Arun Jaitley, rightly pointed out recently on the floor of the parliament. For God's sake, don't convert these two words, infrastructure and industry, into abuse. In this fight of politicians, let's not convert these two words, infrastructure and industry, as if they were abuses. And I was with one of the top industrialists of the country recently, interacting with him, and he came out with a fantastic thing for me. He told, Sambit, do you know, when I was young and when your father was young, the interesting fact was anyone who became rich or anyone who would prosper would be looked high upon. Oh, well, yes, here goes the man, he has prospered in his life. Beta, aisa banna hai tumhe bade hokar. Dekho, he kitna mehnat kiya. He has worked very hard. And that's the reason as to why he has 4 cars, 5 cars, he has a bungalow. This was the kind of mindset that we had. But what has happened down the line? At least for the politician, they want to appear poor. They may be rich. They may be thinking rich. But everyone wants to appear poor. Nowadays, working hard and becoming a top corporate is almost a sin. It is not a virtue. If you are a corporate, oh, black money hai. Iske paas black money hai. Ye gadbad kar raha hai. He is not the right man to be seen with. You can dine with him, you can drink with him in the evening. But you should not be seen and photographed with him. That kind of mentality is something which is destroying this country. Neutrality has vanished. I firmly believe that word like pro and anti should have no space in the dictionary of politics anywhere in this world. It has to be neutral. Rich and the poor, the diseased and the healthy, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, beggars and riches. They all have to be looked with same eye by the government. Government should not distinguish. Development does not distinguish. If you build a university, the university provides knowledge. Knowledge is neutral. Knowledge can be acquired by anyone. Well, yes, the means is different, but knowledge can be acquired by anyone. But yet for our political gains, we have divided ourselves. We posture. And since I'm a politician, I'll also use this opportunity to showcase as to how various political parties in the recent past have used politics to stall some of the biggest projects, or at least trying to stall the projects. Of posturing, I remember the latest example. He would say, now again Sambit Patra speaks about Rahul Gandhi. But Rahul ji recently, if you would know the Jayanti Natarajan case, what appeared in front of all of us? That in the public, they were speaking for the poor. In the CII meet, they were saying that, well, yes, the minister is not clearing environmental procedures, and that's the reason as to why the industry is not developing. So you are balancing between the poor and you are balancing between the rich. And in this game of attending to both the needs, you are not doing what was supposed to be done for both the class. If the infrastructure would have grown up, If the land would have been acquired, if an industry would have come up, who would have been benefited? Would only the corporates or the industrialists benefit? Definitely not. The poor also would be equally benefited by getting employment there. But posturing is more important than realizing the truth, and that's what was happening. Recently, we had the National Executive meet in Bangalore. I was there, and the Prime Minister gave a fantastic speech on this. He pointed a few examples, and I would like to share those examples with you. You know those examples, but this is the right platform and this is the right subject where balancing act between politics and economy can be showcased with certain examples. The coal block auction. Now look, the opposition has been saying that this government is a government which is pro-corporate, which is pro-industry, which stands only with the rich. It is anti-poor. But look at the coal block auction. When we were stalling the parliament as an opposition, then Mr. Kapil Sibal showed this kind of figure and said it is a zero loss. Though the CAG had said that 1.86 lakh crore was lost and only 20 auctions away, we have auctioned only 20 coal blocks now and 2 lakh crores has been gained, far beyond what was even projected by the CAG. God only knows how much are we going to gain after 200 auctions. More than 180 are still to go. So this only shows that the extra amount that we have derived, this 2 lakh crores as yet, where does it come from? Definitely not a de novo synthesis. It has come from the pockets of the industrialists, whom by your discretionary procedure, by the faulty procedure, the previous government had thrown away. You are practicing something, you are saying something. You are practicing filling the coffers of the so-called industrialists in a wrong way by discretionary distribution of natural resources of the country. And when on a discussion in parliament, you point a finger towards the Bharatiya Janata Party government, towards the Modi-led government, saying that, well, yes, they are the ones who are pro-industry. No, it's a neutral government. This amount of money had to be extracted because that was the rightful amount for the natural resource. That was auction amount. And this is where I say that neutrality is of prime importance. Auction is neutrality. No industrialist would bid for a coal block until and unless he or she realizes that this is going to generate profit. So definitely, why discretion? Why not auction? We have to be neutral, and we have proved that. With the spectrum, 1 lakh crore has already been gained with the spectrum. We are neutral there as well. And Mr. Modi ji rightly pointed out towards the recent budget. He told the finance minister Arun Jaitley came to him discussing about the wealth tax, that we have to do away with the wealth tax. The Prime Minister said, well, yes, what kind of perception will it throw away? Then when the semantics were worked out, when the finance minister told him that the wealth tax was only collecting 900 crore rupees per year, nothing more than that, but if we apply a surcharge on the rich, that would collect 9,000 crore rupees per year. We did that. More revenues to the exchequer of this country. It was neutrality. But look at the opposition. Because of the balancing act, this play is still going on that, well, they have abolished the wealth tax, means they are pro-industry, they are pro-corporates, they are pro-rich. In spite of the fact that they very well know that we are pro-India, we are pro-growth, we are pro-neutrality. And yes, if at all you have to use the word pro, then it should be pro-industry and pro-poor as well. What's wrong in using the word pro-industry? Should we not see to it that this country's industry flourish? Should we not see to it that the rich of this country should also flourish so that they can provide employment to the poor? Should we not see to it that the corporates also do well within the ambits of the law of this country? Should we also not see to it that the poorest of poor has labor reforms in such a manner that his or her right is not snatched away, and yet there are no discrepancy between his employment in a corporate sector? The Inspector Raj had to be done away. We did away with the Inspector Raj. 16 forms have to be filled. We reduced it to 1 under the labor rule. I believe this kind of work has to continue without the hassles. But the irony is, a lot is happening, but there's much of noise. Untie what is good. The recent most example I would say is of the land acquisition bill. Now look at the truth of land acquisition bill. The Prime Minister himself, while delivering a speech on the floor of the Parliament, said that, well, yes, an anarchic law had to be done away with. A 120-year-old law brought by the British, promulgated by the Britishers, had to be thrown to the dustbin because it was archaic. So finally in 2013, we all agreed that, well, yes, it has to be amended. It has to be changed. A new law has to be brought in. All the political parties, the Prime Minister agreed, well, yes, even we had conquered then, that this was the best possible thing that we can do, and we had voted in favor of it. 2013, the land acquisition bill was passed. But then there was a meeting of the chief ministers. Nitin Gadkari ji was the minister. All the chief ministers of the country, along with the union territory representatives, they had a meeting with the minister, and behind the closed door, they all agreed to the fact that, well, yes, the consent clause has to be done away with, or at least reduced to 50% or 40%. If you have 80% consent clause, then nothing is going to be acquired. They all concurred to the fact that the social impact assessment also has to be left to the states. They all wrote letters to this effect, from Prithviraj Chauhan to Hooda ji. They all wrote letters to this effect, that please see to it that the consent clause is either done away with or is reduced. And as far as the social impact assessment is concerned, let the states be given the power to deliver on it. What did this government do? In keeping with the right principles of federalism, this government said that as far as consent clause is concerned, as far as the social impact assessment is concerned, let the competent authority, that means the state, the authorized authority, that state, take the decision. If the state wants that for a particular project, you can do away with the 50%, 40%, 80% consent, don't take the consent. If you feel that consent should be taken, take the consent. You are the best judge because you know how your development will take place. We empowered the states. The states are very happy. If you would remember, Mr. Jaitley, in one of his blogs, in one of his articles, which appear even in the major leading dailies of the country, he said, if the states don't want to conquer